Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Looks like there was some defrauded customers. They were bilked out of $1.4 million. And it just goes to show you that you can never trust everybody. But in this particular case, it turned out to be a very bad for customers who had put their hard-earned money and trusted this particular shop owner to deliver coins as promised. Let's explore this story that comes to us from Chewy636. Yes, this comes to us out of Vancouver, Washington. A coin shop owner gets 4 years for defrauding customers out of $1.4 million. The owner of a Vancouver coin shop who defrauded customers out of $1.4 million was sentenced in federal court last Friday to 4 years in prison. Blue Moon Coins owner Aaron Michael Scott, no relation to the regional district manager of Dunder Mifflin, of Portland, was indicted in October by a grand jury on 11 counts of wire fraud and 5 counts of mail fraud, according to a statement released by U.S. Attorney Brian T. Moran. More than 139 customers were defrauded out of $1.4 million, with individual losses ranging from just over $2,000 to more than $154,000, Moran said in a statement on the sentencing. Scott was sentenced on a single count of wire fraud as part of a plea agreement, according to a judgment affidavit. He pleaded guilty to the charge November the 1st. The Vancouver Police Department began investigating Blue Moon Coins in 2014 after customers claimed they had paid for gold and silver coins from the business website but received nothing in return. The shop abruptly closed after the investigation began, though a related business, Affordable Precious Metals, continued to operate at the site for a time. It is no longer at that location. Let's take a look at the pictures here. There we go. And we see the Affordable Precious Metals shop there. None are in business anymore. In fact, when you go to Blue Moon's Coins, an error has occurred. Yeah, they're no longer working there. Scott told customers, the indictment alleges that between 2013 and October and April of 2014, Scott repeatedly accepted customer money for the purchase of precious metals and coins, and then used the money for his personal and company expenses. Scott told customers the money would be used to immediately purchase the coins and metals, but instead it was used for expenses to fulfill earlier customer orders in the form of a Ponzi scheme, according to the indictment. Well, that should raise red flags. If he tells people that he's going to use it to immediately purchase the coins and doesn't already have, to me that would raise a red flag and be suspicious. He used several excuses for the delays in receiving the items, whether a supplier going bankrupt, a corporate buyout, delayed armored truck delivery, and a bad flu season, Moran said. In 2015, Scott declared bankruptcy, and it was discovered he had a web of businesses, including producing rap albums and making custom jewelry, such as gold teeth or grills, according to federal prosecutors. During the fraud scheme, he owned a Maserati and Porsche, but transferred ownership of the cars before the bankruptcy filing. The U.S. Commodities Future Trading Commission has filed a civil enforcement action against Scott and Blue Moon Coins, seeking restitution for the victims and a permanent registration and trading ban, which would prevent Scott from running a similar business when he is released. But the government sentencing memorandum written by Moran and Assistant U.S. Attorney David Reese Jennings admits it is unlikely people who were defrauded will ever get their money back, and that's a sad thing. My view is that no matter what job Scott gets after he's released from prison, a portion of his check should be garnished to pay back those he defrauded. Scott will never be able to pay restitution, they say. The victims will never be made whole. The victims will grow more jaded, and they will question how the defendant can go on operating business and leading a normal life when he has so brazenly stolen from them and so many others. They will experience a futility that can only be cured by justice, the sentence memorandum states. Justice in this case calls for jail time. Justice in this case calls for a sentence that brushes aside the defendant's unwillingness to accept true responsibility, the memorandum says. And aside from the jail sentence, again, as soon as he leaves the prison system and begins to work again, his wages should be garnished to pay back those he defrauded. Even if it doesn't pay fully, he needs to suffer. He needs to be, even if it takes him the rest of his life to make the money to pay back his victims. That's what should happen, in my view. Very interesting indeed. Now, again, this is a very rare case. I think most online dealers, and I don't know this, apparently he had a shop, a local shop, where people could come in and buy precious metals. Who knows? He may have sold fake gold too. Wouldn't be surprised if he delivered some fake gold or silver in this process. I believe if I was a customer of his and lived in a local area, I would certainly be checking my coins and make sure they were valid and real. But this is a case where, and again, it's a rare case, but it just goes to show you that you can never be too careful when buying online. You're always taking a risk at one point or another. And by the way, if you see from this photograph, there's the BBB sign, the Better Business Bureau rating system. I don't know that I would necessarily use that to gauge the trustworthiness of a particular business, because it seems like a lot of these can be stacked and people can report on this one way or other, or they can pay to have the bad comments removed and the like. And so to me, it seems a little bit suspect, and I don't really go by the Better Business Bureau rating anymore in those terms. But let me ask those of you who watch my videos out west, have any of you ever heard of Blue Moon Coins, or been in Vancouver, or had a chance to check it out? I'd be curious to see what your thoughts are on this business. It's very interesting indeed. Chewy was grateful enough to send me this information, but I think it is quite fascinating, and justice, at least in some ways, has been served here, and he will no longer be able to defraud anybody else through these operations. So it's going to be quite interesting. And, it just goes to show you, too, on top of that, in dealing with online businesses, or even your local coin shop. I ran into an experience the other day where one of the coins that I had posted a video about that was presented as something being genuine turned out not to be the case. And sometimes bullion dealers, especially local coin shops, may not know what they've got and may not check to see that something is valid or not. Even if something has an official, government backing, in this case, the Cook Islands. And so, it's always good to trust but verify, because you never know. I've run into this many times in my local coin shop. There's been several occasions where he has accepted and passed on to me or others fake products. And considering the volume that he does, it doesn't surprise me that some of these things would be missed. Does that mean that he's trying to defraud his customers? No, it's purely out of ignorance, and also just the fact that he didn't have time to really vet the things that he bought. In this particular case, it was a bag full of silver bars, and he got one that was a gold-plated. Sometimes there are gold-plated, gilded silver bars, and he got one that was just an art bar that was a gold-plated brass. And so that happens from time to time. The moral of the story, especially with regards to this situation, is that, be cautious when buying both locally and online. The reputation does matter, and I think larger online dealers like Profit Metals, APMEX, and others certainly are trustworthy. They have processes in place. Part of the major portion of their business is to check and make sure that what they sell is going to be legitimate and genuine. And so, there are places you can trust. However, there have been times where I bought from APMEX and other places, and I still run a gold piece over the precious metals verifier just to be doubly sure. So you can never be too careful these days. But post your thoughts below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to y'all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.